Hey everyone, I was trying to think of something to do a video about that I haven't talked much about, and I was thinking, you know what? I have a ton of CDs. I've got this big, like, rotating thing. I've got a bunch here, I've got a bunch there, a bunch here, and there. So I figured I'll talk about one of my favorite types of CDs to collect. I've always loved CDs ever since I got my first CD player back when I was like 11 or 12, I think. Back then, when I first got my CD player, I had two CDs. There was a free nursery rhyme CD we got in the mail for something or other, and the other one was Pink Misunderstood. Yeah. I've come a long way since then. I have literally hundreds and hundreds of CDs. I love CDs, so anyway, my favorite thing to collect is soundtracks. So I'm going to go over all my soundtracks, just the movie soundtracks. I was quite surprised to find out I have quite a few soundtracks for like TV shows or like things that aren't movies specifically. That surprised me. I didn't realize I had so many. So, anyway, I'll start off with my Godzilla CDs. Right here is the best of Godzilla, 1954 to 1975. All the Showa Godzilla movie soundtrack, or well, the best of those soundtracks. There's some really cool stuff here. Unfortunately, one of the things that's on here I don't really care for is the sound effect tracks. I don't know, I'm not a fan of the sound effect tracks. Some people like the sound effect tracks, but I'm not really that big of a fan of them. But anyway, minor detail. I freaking love the music in the old Godzilla movies, so that was a really cool thing to have. And there was a second volume of that, which was 1984 to 1995, the Heisei Godzilla movies. And I couldn't find it, but I did find this like a UK version of it. Yeah, it was cheaper to like import a version from Europe than to just get the American one. The music in the Heisei era I don't like as much as the original music. It's not nearly as iconic. It's not really catchy or anything, but there's some soundtracks, especially on this CD, that I really enjoy, so I really wanted to find this. And I wouldn't mind finding the soundtracks to something like Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah or Godzilla 1984 Return of Godzilla. And then next up is this weird thing, Monster Mania music from the classic Godzilla films 1954 to 1995. This is covers. Some decent ones, some really boring ones, but I don't know, it's a nice thing to like have on in the background. And then this is a free promo DVD or CD that came with my Destroy All Monsters DVD. I guess. I Yeah, Destroy All Monsters isn't the greatest soundtrack of the Showa era. It's fine. But yeah, it's mostly like recycled bits from other movies. There's a few cool parts, but not a huge fan of this one. And then, keeping with Japanese theme, here's a Kamen Rider movie soundtrack collection to Kamen Rider J, Zio, and Shin. It's got like the theme and end theme to those movies. Except for Shin, it just has the song Forever. Not a whole lot to say about this one. I like the music in these. The music in these is really cool. I would love if there was more like of the background music from Zio and Jay, because they had some really cool music. Unfortunately, it's just the themes. So, it's still cool to have it, but I would have liked if it was more complete. And next up is Superhero Taisen. Freaking love the music in this. It is so, so cool. I really liked the movie. Some of it's dumb, but it's fun. I like it. Let's see, and then Taizen Z. Taizen Z, I really, really love this movie. It's a huge improvement over Superhero Taisen, a movie that I already freaking loved. The music, however, I don't think is as, like, it's good, but it's not really, like, stand out like in the first one. Although this one does have the We Are Brothers song, Jochaku. Freaking love that song. And nothing really special inside these. And then here's the soundtrack to 199 Heroes, Goseiger vs. Gokaiger. Really love this one. Like Super Hero Taisen, it's like super iconic music, really recognizable. Also, I just freaking love the cover. The cover is just beautiful. I love this. And let's see, there's the track listing on the back, all in Japanese. So what next? Guess I'll talk about Star Wars next. Here's a set of 4 volumes of Star Wars music. So here's the first one, which is the soundtrack to A New Hope, and then Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. You can I don't know. This is a very weird design. It's all black on black, like Spinal Tap. And then 4 is the interesting one. This one has a bunch of music that was like cut from the other soundtracks, or it's music that wasn't used in the movie, or it was like alternate music for different versions of the movie. And so let's see. One of the cool things on here is Lap Ti Nek, which is the song that the band sings in Jabba's palace. Oh, and the other thing, these are for the original movies, not the special editions. So we don't have that weird rock version of Lap Ti Nek. Also, it has the original Ewok Yub Nub song on it. That's awesome. And there's lots of other cool stuff on here. Let's see. Soundtrack anthology producer Nick Redman. 20th Century Fox Film Scores. Arista Records. I don't know if this was like a box set or something. I can't imagine these were sold separately, so I don't quite know what the story was with these. I got these at a flea market. And then right here is the soundtrack to Star Wars Episode 1. My favorite of the prequel soundtracks. I don't know, the prequel like Episode 1's music was amazing. I loved it. Episode 2 and 3, though, just kind of blends together. A lot of it feels like just the same kind of music that was in all the other movies. Like, it works in the movies, but there's nothing that really stands out that I want to own. And then there's Rogue One. If I happened across the soundtrack, I might get it. But again, the music doesn't really stand out to me or anything in that. Solo and the sequels, definitely not. Let's see. What do I want to talk about next? Yeah, I know. I'll talk about Disney stuff next. So first up is Music of Dreams Collection, Volume 1. This is part of a series of Japanese Disney soundtrack collections. On the inside, they have an English track listing, and it's like just a selection of best of songs, and they don't go in any particular order. They kind of jump around all across Disney eras. It starts off with some Pocahontas, then to Mary Poppins, Snow White, Three Little Pigs, Pinocchio, Snow White, Cinderella, back to Pinocchio, then Robin Hood, Sword in the Stone, Beauty and the Beast, Lady and the Tramp, more Beauty and the Beast, then Aladdin, Lion King, Winnie the Pooh, Peter Pan, Dumbo, Pinocchio again, Mary Poppins again, Dumbo, Pocahontas again, and Cinderella again. Yeah, it's just all jumbled up. I don't really know what they were thinking with this, and I couldn't find too many other volumes, but I did find volume 6 of the Music of Dreams collection, and this one also has some pretty cool stuff. Aladdin, Aristocrats, Jungle Book, Lady and the Tramp, Ukulele Ike Sings Again. I don't know that one. The Jungle Book, Mickey's Rock Around the Mouse, Mickey Mouse Disco, Mickey Mouse Splash Dance, Mickey Mouse Show Best of Annette, Disney Presents a Family Christmas, Oliver and Company, Little Mermaid, Epcot Center, and more Oliver and Company. There's definitely some neat stuff here. If you're a Disney completionist, when it comes to soundtracks, I'd say these are definitely worth looking into. And then there's a couple of these classic Disney volumes, which is pretty much the same thing as those. It's just a bunch of random stuff. This is a weird thing. A Jungle Book promo soundtrack, The Jungle is Jumpin'. This has Bare Necessities, I Wanna Be Like You, and then it goes into some weird stuff that I don't know from Jungle Book. It's like from, I don't know, other Disney cartoons. He's a lucky, lucky snake, queen of the jungle, never smile at a crocodile. Then there's a song called Baloo, Go-Go Bananas, Brothers All, Sisters All, I Wanna Be Like You, covered by Smash Mouth, Dino Beat, and then the coolest thing on here, and the whole reason I kept this CD, is there's a Bowling for Soup cover of the Bare Necessities. That's pretty cool. The rest is kind of give or take. I don't really care too much about most of what's on there. So anyway, moving on, here's Beauty and the Beast Belle's Enchanted Christmas soundtrack. I had no idea there was a soundtrack to Belle's Enchanted Christmas. Beauty and the Beast The Enchanted Christmas. Huh. I thought it was called Belle's Enchanted Christmas, whatever. I really like this. This is a really cool CD. It's a collection of, like, traditional Christmas songs sung by the voice actress for Belle, as well as the soundtrack to the movie. And also it includes Tim Curry's Don't Fall in Love. Frickin' awesome. Moving on, here's Aladdin. I love the Aladdin soundtrack. It's awesome. Don't really know what else to say about it. I'd love to find a soundtrack for Return of Jafar and King of Thieves, because I really like some of the music in there, too. And here's Pocahontas. I'm missing most of the case, though, for some reason. So I just have the booklet and the disc. That's unfortunate, but whatever. Lion King. Not a whole lot to say about it. It's good. Hunchback. Same thing. The cover is kind of weird. There's no Quasimodo, no Frollo, no Esmeralda, no Phoebus. Or wait, no, Phoebus is there. There he is. And the jester guy, Clopin, he's over there. It's an odd cover to like leave off the main characters like that. And here's the Mulan soundtrack with a very, very strange cover. Yeah, it's weird. They apparently decided to go like kind of impressionistic with the soundtrack covers. Tarzan, really cool. I have a bunch of the Tarzan soundtrack on shuffle on a music MP3 player I have, and it really, really likes the Tarzan soundtrack. It will always put them at the beginning and repeat them a bunch of times, and it gets annoying. And then here's Treasure Planet. I love the music from Treasure Planet. I love the theme. It's awesome. Not a whole lot else to say about it. I really like Treasure Planet's soundtrack. So next up, I guess I'll go through live action stuff. So right here is The Falcon and the Snowman, which I mainly just got for, where is it? This Is Not America, David Bowie, Pat Metheny group. I used to hear that on the radio occasionally, and I like the song. I listened to the rest of this. It's okay. It's something to have on in the background, but This Is Not America is the main thing that I keep it for. Now this is a really cool thing. Insane Clown Posse, Big Money Hustlers. Yeah, this is the soundtrack to the Insane Clown Posse movie, Big Money Hustlers. I really like that movie. I don't know how many people actually know that there was a movie, but there was, and I really like this. They had a second movie, Big Money Rustlers. I don't know if that had a soundtrack. It probably did, but I'm not as big of a hurry to find that, because I liked Hustlers, not so much Rustlers. So anyway, here's the Blues Brothers Definitive Collection. It's okay. I really like Blues Brothers. The music's okay. Not something I'm super into, but I like having it. And this is a weird thing. The Speed Racer live-action movies soundtrack. I haven't seen the movie yet. I haven't listened to the soundtrack yet. I only bought it because it was like really cheap at a flea market, but I don't know. Maybe it's good. It looks cool. Music composed by Michael Giacchino or Giacchino, whatever. Don't know his work off the top of my head. So, moving on. The Spawn soundtrack. I just found this at the thrift store. This was really cool to find. I'm a big fan of the Spawn movie. Not as big a fan of the music. It's fine. Again, something to have on in the background. There's nothing here that, like, really stands out to me. But I'm a big fan of the Spawn movie, so it's cool to have, like, a bit of merchandise for it. Now, this was a really cool thing. The Flintstones movie soundtrack. There's some really fun songs on here, and, yeah, the movie doesn't have the best reputation, but it's one of those things that I'm like, you know what, I really like the movie. It's not my favorite movie or anything, but yeah, there's some fun music in there, and the movie has some cool moments, and I love how they were able to, like, just bring the cartoon to life in that way. Yeah, the story should have been better, but moving on. Rock and Roll High School, the Ramones movie. This was a really cool thing to find. Let's see. So it's got all the Ramones songs, or most of the Ramones songs from the movie. There is something in the movie that's not on here, and I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. Then there's also other songs that were featured in the movie. My favorite is, let's see, Come On, Let's Go from the Paley Brothers, along with the Ramones. Originally, I remember reading that Joey was supposed to sing Come On, Let's Go, but he was sick when they had to record, so they had the Paley Brothers fill in for him. So that's cool. And then there's So It Goes by Nick Lowe. I love that one. Oh, and then there's PJ Souls' version of Rock and Roll High School. I freaking love that. It's awesome. Yeah, not a whole lot. Oh, School's Out by Alice Cooper. That's neat. So moving on, here's the Masters of the Universe 2-disc special edition soundtrack from Note for Note Music. This was a really cool thing, and I found it completely by chance. I just happened to look up, oh, is there a soundtrack CD of this? And I happened to find the, like, Note for Note, like, 2-disc version, like, up for pre-order or something. So that was awesome to find, and I'm hoping this is still around, because there is a lot of cool stuff in here. Let's see, the first disc is the entire film score. The second disc is, like, the original, like, soundtrack release, which is kind of limited. Sometimes it's a little better. There's, like, edits of some of the music that cuts it down to, like, highlights or just the best parts, but I don't know, I prefer having the whole thing all there. So next up is, The Shawshank Redemption. I've never actually seen the movie, but I know the music. The music is used in, like, a lot of parodies and things, so I know the music. It's really good. Who did the music? Music by Thomas Newman. Don't know them. I'm not good with composers, I guess. Then next up, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? A Coen Brothers movie soundtrack. It's okay. I love the movie a lot more than I like the music on its own. It's nice to have the soundtrack, though. Next up is Bjork Selma Songs, which is the soundtrack to Dancer in the Dark, which was a very depressing movie about Bjork playing this woman, Selma, who has a son who she's trying to raise money for an eye operation that he needs, but then, like, a bunch of bad stuff happens, and it just keeps getting worse, and then she dies, and it's a musical all throughout the movie. It's a good movie, but, it'll kick your butt, man. The music is good. So I'm glad I got this CD, because the music is really good. And then Weird Al's UHF. I love Weird Al, and I loved UHF. Awesome movie. Not a whole lot to say about that more than that. Oh, this has Biggest Ball of Twine in Minnesota, which is not in the movie, but I really love that song. And then, let's see, the Breakfast Club soundtrack. I mean the Breakfast Club sandwich. Let's see. I'm not a big fan of the Breakfast Club movie. It's fine. I'm not a huge fan. The main reason I got this is Don't You Forget About Me from Simple Minds and Heart Too Hot to Hold. When I was a kid, we had a VHS tape with The Breakfast Club, and then after Breakfast Club was Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. So it would be playing the end credits, and Heart Too Hot to Hold would be on, and then that would lead right into Lucy going, Charlie Brown, and then him trying to kick the football. So I always associate Heart Too Hot to Hold with Charlie Brown kicking the football. Or not kicking the football. Weird. And then X-Files, the album, which I think, yeah, this was the first time that I was exposed to Bjork, who does the song Hunter, which is a really cool music video for the Bjork song Hunter. Look it up, it's really cool. And the Dust Brothers X-Files theme, I love that. X does Crystal Ship, Soul Coughing does 16 Horses. It's all really, really cool. And then right here is House of a Thousand Corpses, the Rob Zombie movie. Of course, there's a bunch of Rob Zombie music on here. I love Rob Zombie. Let's see. There's also a bunch of weird stuff. There's Slim Whitman's I Remember You, the Brick House remix that Rob Zombie did with Lionel Richie, or he like got his permission to do a remix and didn't think that he'd like it when he heard it. Yeah, weird. And then, let's see. Oh yeah, there's Now I Want to Sniff Some Glue by the Ramones. Love that one. And then this is even cooler, the Devil's Rejects soundtrack, which has just a ton of really, really cool stuff. And let's see, Freebird by Lynyrd Skynyrd, which, like, after seeing this movie, that song just perfectly fits the movie, and it's, like, when I hear it, I think of Devil's Rejects now, so I'm glad that they included that on the soundtrack. Okay, next up is Eddie and the Cruisers. I would hear On the Dark Side on the radio a lot when I was a kid. I'm not really into many of the other songs on here. They're fine. There's songs on here that are okay, but On the Dark Side is the main one that I got it for. Next up, St. Elmo's Fire, which I got on sale at a record store. I had a cassette of this that I listened to. I really liked it, and I really like the soundtrack here. Never seen the movie, probably not ever going to see the movie. It doesn't sound like something I'd be interested in, but the soundtrack is freaking amazing. I love the music. And then here we got something cool, The Lost Boys. I love The Lost Boys. I love the soundtrack. It's freaking amazing. I Still Believe, Cry Little Sister, Lost in the Shadows, People Are Strange. It is such a cool soundtrack. I definitely recommend it to any fans of, like, 80s music. And this is really cool. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. One of the first, and really only Western movies that I really got super into. I love the music. It introduced me to Ennio Morricone, and I've since looked up a bunch of his other music and work, and he has, like, just an incredible discography and history of soundtracks and just music in general. He's a really talented composer. I love his music in Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, as well as pretty much everything he's worked on. Next up is The Crow soundtrack. This is, let's see, got all the songs from The Crow on there. And then also I have The Crow orchestral score, or instrumental score. Music composed by Graham Revell. So this was a really cool thing to find, because I love the background music in the Crow movie. And moving into something a little sillier, here's the soundtrack to Office Space. Love Office Space. The best things on here are where is it? Yeah, Cannabis with Biz Markie, and let's see. Oh yeah, the Ghetto Boys songs. Those are the best parts. The rest is kind of take it or leave it, but I love the Ghetto Boys music. And right here we got Willow, composed by James Horner. I grew up with Willow, and it's one of my favorite childhood movies. Oh, and we got General Kyle on the back there. That's awesome. Let's see, and the music really made an impression on me. I still really love the music. Like, when I play this, I can just picture in my head everything going on in the movie. Like, the movie plays as I'm hearing the music. And right here we got Half Baked, Dave Chappelle's movie. There's some really fun songs on here. There's a cover of Along Comes Mary by Bloodhound Gang. That's freaking amazing. I Get Lifted by UB40. There's, where is it? Oh yeah, I'm in Love with Mary Jane by Coolio. Love that one. So yeah, there's a lot of cool, like, stoner music. And then the Lost in Space movie soundtrack. I love the Lost in Space movie. I love the Lost in Space series too, but yeah, I love the movie also. Most people seem to either like one or the other, but I like both. I really like the movie. The main thing on here that I really like is the Lost in Space theme. I think they do a great job with it. The other music's fine. Oh, and also the score tracks on here, composed by Bruce Broughton, who interestingly did the theme song for Tiny Toon Adventures. Huh. Quite the variety of work. And then right here is the Big Lebowski soundtrack. Oddly, there's some songs very prominent in the movie that are missing on here. Like, what was it? Yeah, there's no Creedence Clearwater Revival. And, yeah. There is some really cool stuff on here. Stuff that I wouldn't even know where to begin looking for. But yeah, I'm still glad to have this, even if it is, like, oddly missing some stuff. They probably couldn't get the rights together or something. And then next up is Prince, Purple Rain and the Revolution. Love the movie, love the soundtrack. I love Prince. He consistently does amazing work. And this is really cool. This is another one of the very first CDs I ever bought. Fright Night, the soundtrack. I listen to this, like, constantly. So I know, like, the whole thing, backwards, forwards, freaking awesome. Like, everything's good on this CD. It was a great first album to find. And then next up is this Comic-Con exclusive thing, Friday the 13th, music from the Paramount movies. So it's got a bunch of music from the original Friday the 13th up until Jason Takes Manhattan. And, let's see. On the disc it says number 5. So I guess they were numbered, and this is like number 5 of something. Oh yeah, and there was an odd thing. On the back, the track listing is screwed up, so I wrote it down on a little piece of paper there. Oh, and the front just fell out. Yeah. One of the really funny things on here is the last track is the music from the NES Friday the 13th video game. That's funny. And then here's the soundtrack to Freddy vs. Jason. Not my favorite soundtrack, but there's some cool, like, heavy metal stuff on here that's neat. And we got Planet of the Apes with also a suite from Escape from Planet of the Apes. I guess there was extra space on the disc or something, and they were like, yeah, let's stick some extra stuff on there. I love the music in Planet of the Apes, although when I was listening to the CD just on its own, I don't really like the music as much. I think the music works best along with the movie. By itself, it's fine, but I don't know. I feel like it fits the movie better than it works as music on its own. And then next up is the Neverending Story soundtrack. This is just amazing to have found. I am so happy this is on CD, because I love the music in Neverending Story. Like Willow, it's another one of those childhood favorite movies that when I listen to the music, the movie plays in my head. And then next up is Stand By Me. Love this. I have another Stand By Me soundtrack. It came in a box set with the Stand By Me movie. And the weird thing is there's a couple of songs not on there, but they are on here. I don't know what that's all about. They're both from Atlantic Records. So I don't know what exactly the rights problem was. And then here's This Is Spinal Tap, or just Spinal Tap. Yeah, I guess it's just Spinal Tap, with the black cover from the movie. I love Spinal Tap the movie, and some of the music on here is genuinely good, despite them being like a parody band, or satire band, I guess. And right here, this is one of my favorite CDs, Howard Stern Private Parts, the soundtrack. Most of this you can find online, but there's a live version of AC/DC's You Shook Me All Night Long that I cannot find anywhere. There are, like, soundtrack track lists or playlists on YouTube of the Private Parts soundtrack, and it includes AC/DC's You Shook Me All Night Long, but it's never the version from the movie that was on this CD. As far as I can find, that version is not available anywhere. Really weird, or maybe it's on Amazon or something, but I haven't been able to find AC/DC's You Shook Me All Night Long, specifically the version that's on this CD. I would love to find that digitally somewhere. Then here we got Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Love this. There's a lot of, like, fun 90s, 80s rock music on here. And then on to Deadpool. Music from, original motion picture soundtrack. Let's see, this has Angel of the Morning, and let's see, Calendar Girl, The Deadpool Rap, Ex-Con Give It To Ya, Careless Whisper, Shoop, and then a whole bunch of the score by Tom Holkenborg, aka Junkie XL. Okay, I remember that now. And the cool thing with that, there was a second volume, Deadpool Reloaded, with more music from the movie. Let's see, there's more of the score, along with, let's see, Merc with the Mouth, Mr. Sandman, and, let's see, oh, and, like, remix versions of some of the songs. That's cool. And they did the same thing for Deadpool 2. They put out 2 volumes. Although this time it was a bit more streamlined. The first version was like basically just the soundtrack with songs from the movie collected, and then the second volume was like the score composed by Tyler Bates. And then, oh, this is cool, Warriors of Virtue. So happy to have the soundtrack. There's also a score soundtrack CD out there that I want to find, but I haven't been able to track it down yet. Really happy to have this. Warriors of Virtue was another, like, childhood favorite movie. And then right here is the Rocky story, with a bunch of songs from the Rocky movies, which I have not seen, so I don't know which songs are from which movie. It doesn't say. But yeah, the music is freaking amazing in Rocky. So, next up, I guess I'll be talking... Oh yeah, Team America World Police, with a bunch of the goofy music from this one. And so, yeah, now we're on to cartoon movies. Here's the soundtrack to, I'm not sure if this is the first Winx movie or the second Winx movie, but this is the German soundtrack. And it also has All the Magic, which was like the theme for the movie, and it was all in English. So that's weird. Okay, I think this was the first movie, but I don't know for sure. And then here's Anastasia, and let's see, where, oh, there it is. I also have, like, a weird promo CD for Anastasia, which has this weird, like, cardboard slide-out thing. Picture of Bartok on the back. I like Anastasia, so it's cool to have this, I guess. Next up, the My Little Pony movie soundtrack, which, for a while, this was kind of hard to listen to for me, because I didn't really care for the movie that much. It's okay, but the show was so much better, and the music in the show was so much better, and I just wanted, like, a CD of the show's music, or at the very least, like, Equestria Girls. Like, the Equestria Girls movie was a movie. Why didn't that have a soundtrack CD? Especially Rainbow Rocks. The whole point of Rainbow Rocks is it's a musical, and there's no CD for it. Or at least not like a normal one. There's like a promo Walmart exclusive thing out there somewhere, but just no normal CD. Anyway, I was pretty surprised to find out there was a soundtrack for My Little Pony: A New Generation. Alright, sure. Like, that's cool and all. I have no idea why in the world this got a soundtrack, and yet there's still not really anything for My Little Pony the series or anything. So next up is South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. Good music. I really like the music. And then here's the Fern Gully soundtrack and the Fern Gully score. Yeah, neat. Oh wait, they're mixed up. So there's the soundtrack, there's the score. A lot of cool stuff on there. And here's the Drawn Together soundtrack, which has it collects music from the Drawn Together movie, the movie, and then also some stuff from the series. So it's pretty cool. Oh, and there's a track listing error on the back. Where is it? Oh yeah, Fire the Load Xander, I think. Okay, yeah, now I remember. There's a goofy song that plays in the show where, let's see, Xander and one of the others go to this ice skating show or something, and they're playing a song called Fire the Load. And then later on in Season 3, I think, he sings his own version of Fire the Load. So I guess it means Fire the Load Xander's version, but his name is on both versions. I don't know what that's all about. So anyway, moving on. Here's The Nightmare Before Christmas with a weird holographic cover. Oh, and it's got the extra disc with, like, cover versions of some of the songs. And then I also have Nightmare Revisited, which is a collection of, like, only covers of Nightmare Before Christmas music. Which is awesome, because I love the soundtrack to Nightmare Before Christmas. Oh, and speaking of Christmas, here's the soundtrack to How the Grinch Stole Christmas. The original cartoon. Yeah. And it also includes the soundtrack to Horton Hears a Who. Huh. Neat, I guess. And this is really cool. The Rock and Roll soundtrack, which pretty sure is a custom thing. But it's still really cool to have it. Unfortunately, some of the music from Rock and Roll has never been released officially, like clean versions, separate from the movie's soundtrack. So, unfortunately, some of it has like bits from the movie in there, but whatever. And then here's the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie : film for theaters soundtrack. Yep, just soundtrack. So a lot of cool stuff from here. There's, let's see, a few bits of stuff taken from the show, but most of this is the soundtrack to the movie. And then here's Powerpuff Girls Heroes and Villains, which has a bunch of music that was featured in the Powerpuff Girls movie, as well as stuff from the show, and then, like, stuff from Cartoon Network promos. And here's the score to Robots. I love the score to Robots. It is such a fun soundtrack. Music by John Powell. So yeah, really cool, unique sounding music. And then right here we got the soundtrack to The Prince of Egypt. Freaking love this movie. After I saw it, I knew I had to get the soundtrack, because I love the music that much. Let's see, Heavy Metal. This was really, really fun. I found this, and this inspired me to track down the movie, and I was really disappointed with the movie, but I still love the soundtrack. Then next up, Secret of NIMH, one of my favorite movies, awesome soundtrack, and, was it Flying Dreams by Paul Williams. Makes me cry, and makes me sad, but I love it. This is cool, the Polar Express soundtrack. It's fun. I like Polar Express. I like the music. It's good. And then we got Beavis and Butthead Do America, the soundtrack. Fun stuff there. And then I got a whole bunch of Punisher soundtracks. Here's the Dolph Lundgren movies, score and soundtrack. And then here's the score to the 2004 movie, the soundtrack to the 2004 movie, the score to Warzone, and the soundtrack to Warzone, which I haven't opened yet because I didn't really care for it. and I happened to get another one that was sealed, so I kept this and gave away the other one, and I don't know, it's Punisher, so I'll keep it. And then next up, I got 2 Digimon CDs. Here we got the official soundtrack to the American version of Digimon the movie. And then here's a German, let's see, Digimon Gold CD, which includes a bunch of music from the film and US TV series. And then I got some Dragon Ball stuff right here. We have the Lord Slug soundtrack. I don't know the name of the Japanese name of the movie off the top of my head. But yeah, really cool stuff here. The really cool thing is that whistle song that Gohan does in the movie has lyrics here. Yeah, Gohan's voice actress like sings a whole song to go along with his whistling, and it's really cool. And then the Bio Broly soundtrack. I like the movie, I like the soundtrack, whatever. And then here we got Dragon Ball Evolution, which probably the highest quality thing to come out of Evolution is definitely the soundtrack by Brian Tyler, who went on to do music for a bunch of MCU movies and really big movies. Probably far better movies than Evolution. But the soundtrack is really cool. And then next up, I got a bunch of Power Rangers stuff. Oh, wait, actually, I'm going to go over this stuff first. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, the soundtrack, which I don't listen to a whole lot anymore because I'm not big on Kevin Smith at the moment. Clerks 2, fun stuff. Movie's kind of weird to go back to. So anyway, on to Power Rangers. Here's a really weird German CD. It's, like a narrated story version of the movie, and apparently there were 2 volumes. This is volume 2. I can't find volume 1, but yeah, here's like German versions. It's basically the German dub, but just the audio with some narration in there. Strange. And then here's the score to the movie. Music composed by Graham Revell. Really cool to find this. I love the score to the Power Rangers movie. I especially love at the end when Zordon comes back to life. That music is just freaking amazing. And then here's the soundtrack, full of just awesome, amazing music. One of the best soundtracks ever. And then here's the Turbo movie soundtrack, which also has bonus Zeo songs. There is some really cool stuff there, though. I really love some of the music in Turbo and on that album. And then right here we have the 2017 movie soundtrack, which unfortunately is only the score, none of the actual music in the movie, so there's no Power, whoever did that one, and there's no Halsey's I Hold the Line from the trailer. That was really disappointing. I was really, really hoping that I Hold the Line would be on here, but whatever. Still really, really cool to have this. And, yep, that's it. And my camera's almost out of space. It's arbitrary space, so hope you enjoyed this. See ya.